Well, I think certainly I strongly oppose this unfounded and groundless criticism against China on the question of Xinjiang, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, which fully fall into the Chinese sovereignty and territorial integrity. I think no country, be it developed or developing ones, has any right in a position to criticize China, to interfere in China's internal affairs. As a question of the origin of the virus, I think again China has made repeatedly and clear that this is an issue that has been done, should be done in a scientific way. It can only be undertaken by scientists, and firmly opposing the politicalization of that. And China, as so far, has been working very closely with the WTOs and others on that, and welcome and support the objective scientific investigation that. So I would say that China's position on this question, critical question, is very clear, and investigations should also be conducted with other sort of countries or sources. There are reports that the United States labs and others are also suspected that. So I think politicization of an issue like that does not help at all. Rather, we're calling upon scientific and objective investigations that would help to deal with this pandemic.
Well, let's focus more on the pandemic, because the nations here announced that they want to donate 1 billion doses of vaccine to countries all over the world. Half of those would come from the United States. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have on the global fight against the virus?
I only say that there's going to be too little and too late. I think this is the criticism not only by myself, observed, like there are a lot of, I think, the Western observers and organizations that say talking about the same thing. I only want to say that the pledge made by the United States and other G7 countries it seems to me that just to show that there's something that have to be done. Rather, I think sincere and concrete proposals, because talking about the most needed vaccines in the least developed country, we're talking about 11 billion doses, and the pledged 1 billion is just a tiny part, a drop of a big bucket, and there are also it will take long time to come into that. So I only hope and plead that they should do more and do fast.
So China's embassy in London also responded to the criticism directed at China from the G7, basically saying that they believe all countries, big or small, rich or poor, are equals, and that, quote, the days when global decisions were dictated by a small group of countries are long gone. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's exactly, I think, the impression or the comments the international community would like to make. G7, an old sort of grouping that was formed in the Cold War, and now taking up only 40% of GDP. How could they dictate the global issues, and how could they talk about, how can they talk about international cooperation against, instead of with a country like China, which is now taking an increasingly big and important role in global, in managing the global issues. So I think the right way for G7 is to give up that old mindset by working closely and working proactively with the rest of the countries, developing countries like emerging economies like China and others, to ensure the global issues, the global problems facing this world, the pandemic, the climate change, development issues, and could be properly dealt. And to take the position of of working against China is nowhere, is not going to succeed.